Hello, welcome back. If I were to ask you, what does this holiday season mean to you? What would be your response? For many, this is a joyous occasion. Shopping, spending time with family, and having family dinner. But to others, this is just another reminder of those they've lost or what they have lost, whether they're going through divorce, have estranged family members, whether they lost a loved one. While many are celebrating the birth of Christ and fellowshipping with family and friends, there are those who are struggling during this time with grief, regret, anxiety, and even loneliness. I have been on both sides. So today I would like to share with you a familiar Bible verse that, first of all, puts this holiday season into perspective, right where it should be, but it also reminds you that you are not alone because God is always with you. Matthew, the first chapter, verse 23 says, "Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel," which means God with us. I would just like to share some insights from this Bible verse. And the first one is the nearness of God. The name Emmanuel, it highlights that God, He's not distant or detached from us. Through Jesus, God enters human history, sharing in our struggles as well as our experiences. This is a unique claim for us as Christians, God becoming one with us. And secondly, Jesus, He is the Messiah. This is linked to the prophecy in Isaiah 7, verse 14, the promise of the Messiah. It establishes Jesus as the central figure of God's redemptive plan for us, fulfilling centuries of anticipation of the coming of Christ. And thirdly, the miracle of grace. The virgin birth demonstrates God's ability to operate beyond our limits, signifying that salvation is entirely God's work. Just as the conception was miraculous, so is the spiritual rebirth God offers to us as believers. Fourthly, the faithfulness of God. I often share with you how faithful God is. And the fulfillment of this prophecy reminds us of just that God's unchanging faithfulness. Despite of centuries of them waiting and the human doubt, God promises were fulfilled in Jesus' coming, showing that He works in His perfect timing. Fifth, Jesus as the bridge, the gap between God and man. By coming as God with us, Jesus becomes the mediator who reconciles us back to God. He bridges the gap created by our sin, offering a personal relationship with God the Creator. And finally, Jesus is the Savior of the world. While this is rooted in Jewish prophecy, the message of Emmanuel, it extends to all nations and all people. It signifies that God's presence and salvation is not limited to a certain culture or a geography. And you may be wondering, why is this so important? Or how can we apply this to our lives in today's time? First of all, Jesus' birth gives us hope. In moments of loneliness, fear, or even uncertainty, the promise of God with us assures us that we are never alone, that we're not abandoned, that God is with us. As well, we must trust God's timing. The fulfillment of the prophecy centuries later teaches us patience and trust in God's perfect plan. as well as His perfect timing. And finally, living as God's presence. As Christians, as believers, as followers of Christ, we are called to embody His presence by bringing love, compassion, and hope to those around us. Matthew, the first chapter, verse 23, it helps us to reflect on the transformative truth that in Jesus, God is with us, He's for us, and He lives within us. It is a call for us to embrace Him and to let His presence shape our everyday life. I pray that this video has encouraged you, and I appreciate you watching, and I talk to you soon. Bye.